This is Drop Tent Media Network.
And can you get the Mario Kart music that goes like bow, 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 like when they go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can try to
Because
get
that
it.
would actually get me really pretty excited.
Revved up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can do it.
Oh, I see what
Are
you
we
did.
on?
Yeah, I did
Is
start
this on?
recording. Yep, I did start.
Okay.
Hi.
I as you know, and this will date this, but I have a roast tonight, and I am honestly worried about going too far. You and I roast all the time, and I recently met someone who I was roasting with is a comedian by trade. However, I made a joke that was not received well. And I only will still call it a joke because usually my definition of joke is if the person receives it as such. Like
Sure.
if you have to tell someone it's a joke, it wasn't a joke.
Sure. Yeah.
This was like a situation in which we were like jabbing back and forth, like jarred. And then my last one hit in a way that did not hit a funny bone.
Because it was something that the person was sensitive about at the moment.
Yes. And I read it as we were laughing about it and we were not at that stage
Yes.
yet. And that's fine.
But I don't think that I will say knowing the story and not having been there though, I don't think that was because you told me this last night and I was thinking about it since. I don't think that is entirely a misread on your end because I will say, you know, when you're kind of insecure about something, especially if it's like happened that day and you're kind of for yourself trying to like make jokes about it.
Yeah.
Trying to see like make yourself be okay with laughing about it. And it's not until someone else does it that you're like, oh, I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
I don't think that you just misread it and pulled it out of nowhere. I think that person was wanted to be able to laugh at it. But then as soon as you put it into words was like, oh, okay, I'm not ready to hear this.
And I've been trying to get Josh to like nicely roast me too. Like, because it makes me feel seen. It makes me feel good.
Can we bring Josh on?
Yeah.
And he has to write 5 roasts for each of us.
He would literally be sweating.
He
hates it. He hates it. But he had a really good one recently that actually hurt my feelings.
Oh, amazing.
Because I love going to arcades and like the casinos and stuff. Like I love playing games. Like I just love running around doing all the crazy stuff.
Yep. I'm so bored if I'm not trying to win something.
Yes. But the flip side is like I'm overly competitive at things that like I don't need to be competitive at air hockey. Like things that don't matter and then things
That's
I'll
where
be
we disagree,
bad at.
but okay, yeah.
Well, in the sense that his roast was, yes, I love going to arcades with Jamie. My favorite times are when we get there and then when we leave.
Josh!
And I, of course, was like,
that's so good.
That's such a good roast. But I got upset because I was like, you know, like, that's like one of my favorite things to do together. And like, you don't even like playing games.
Also,
and he was like, I was kidding. And then I was like, oh, fuck.
Also, well, as somebody who, born and raised in casinos because of my dad, and also any moment that I have that I'm not at Dave & Buster's is a moment wasted of my time.
This backdrop, we're at Dave & Buster's.
We are.
We bring this with us.
I absolutely feel that way, and I very much understand the feeling of like people being like, I don't know what happens to you when you enter. Like you become not the girl we agreed on in the car, you know?
Oh, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was unwell. We like did a round of bowling at this arcade and I was like doing fine and then all of a sudden I wasn't. And my brain has a really hard time with like something like bowling or Topgolf when like no one can help me with like where I know it's a simple fix in whatever I'm physically doing and no one I'm with can help me with that adjustment and I just keep making the same error and I just get increasingly like I have not had fun bowling since 1992.
Yeah.
Like I'm having fun. I do well, and then like by the 6th frame, I'm gonna murder myself.
Right,
and it's the worst because I turn around and everyone's doing the like they don't want to look at me. Like it's like this horrible like, oh, I'm the like abusive stepdad. Like it is like a crazy. I turn around so angry, and I'm like, okay, Jamie, like have fun. Like this is fun and silly. Like we're having fun.
I was just it's exactly also us watching sports games.
Yeah,
like
and not fun.
It's not fun, but I can't wait to do it again next week.
Yes.
Like, even though I am going to be...
do have fun. Like, Josh and I have gone bowling together before, and, like, he's... I don't want to admit that, like, he's good at bowling. I don't want to admit that just because we're dating, and it's, like, an odd skill to have. Like, I wish he was... He's great. He's the best.
Was he on any sort of team when he was in high school?
No. You know what? I would feel worse if he was bad at it.
Okay.
Also, like that would be worse.
Sure. There's a level though in which if I'm dating somebody, I want them to be good at things. But there's certain things I don't want them to be great at.
Right.
Bowling might be one of them.
Right. Like on principle, like as someone with being a man, like better upper body strength, like all that, like you should be able to have more control throwing a ball down the lane.
Sure.
Full stop. Do I want your name to be like in the lights at the bowling alley permanently? No. Like, do I support you being good at something? Yes.
Right. If I meet a guy and I were like, do you want to go bowling? I want his response to be like, sure. I don't want his response to be like, I'm really good at bowling.
We should go to this one. Yeah.
Let's go to this and we'll see if we can get this lane because like that's my favorite lane. Yeah. That's when I'm like,
yeah.
I'd rather you be. I think there's levels of. I mean, as you know, I did that PowerPoint presentation recently where I talked about things that are inexplicably embarrassing when there's no science behind why. And I think bowling is an innately embarrassing sport. I know everyone makes a joke about walking back from bowling being embarrassing. It's kind of a hack joke, but it's very true. But the act of even being, like, what is more embarrassing? Sucking at bowling or being great at bowling? Like, far on the spectrum, what do you think is more embarrassing?
Sucking.
Than being incredible at bowling?
I think being shitty at something is always worse. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
But I'm not picturing like someone in the button down, like bringing their own shoes. And
that's what I'm talking about.
I'm saying someone that's naturally good at it.
But what is more embarrassing? That guy in the button down with his own.
I stand by sucking.
Okay.
I stand by it. Like, are you going to sleep with the guy that sucks at bowling or is good at bowling?
I don't want to sleep with either guy. Is the hard part.
Losers. Big dog. That's why I was like, Josh better be good at bowling. Because as mad as I was at like his actually like, having form and like I hate like I want a lighter ball, but then they don't have like big enough finger holes
because they're for kids.
Like, so Josh literally spent 15 minutes looking for like a 9-pound ball with like a normal like adult thumb hole.
He's a real one.
Because I broke my nail and was freaking.
No.
I break my nail every time I go bowling. I throw a huge fit. Yes, I finally was like growing out my natural nails to go get them done.
Yeah.
I fucking broke it. And I think it led to me roasting too far. Yes. Like had I been having a little bit more fun, and I was having fun, like it was like a good time. It was like a silly way to end like a night. But when I turned around, the person said something like, what does it feel like to not be good at anything? And I just let it rip and whatever. And they had been really nice to me the whole time. Like I definitely just said something, whatever. So I have this roast tonight that's like for charity and everything. And it's one of those things like it's in New York and people in New York think that they're mean to each other or like, oh, we're in New York, blah, blah, blah.
They have
and
no
like
idea.
they're the biggest softies.
They're
ever.
so sensitive.
Every time I come up, like literally this morning I texted the group chat. I said, good morning, just confirming that nothing is off limits here. And everyone just like thumbs up. But then one guy was like, wait, like now I'm actually nervous. Like, why were you up at, first off, he said, why were you up at 9 a.m.? It's Tuesday. Like, he was like, why are you up at 9 a.m. like thinking about your jokes?
I'm in my 30s. I'm
I
not
just
16.
Like, why are you not? What?
Yeah.
Well, and I get what he meant. Like, it was like the first thing I was thinking about this morning.
Yeah.
He was like, now I'm worried. And like, they think I mean at a baseline. So like now that I'm purposely writing jokes to roast them, I'm like, I know I can roast. I know I'm decent at writing roast jokes, but I honestly think I have lost roast battles for being too mean.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so I agree, and I think that's the thing about leaving our own city and doing
roast battles, and they were both to a friend who like won on crowd vote, and she's just more liked in the realm.
Sure. But I think you're right. It is a
and she's very funny and an extremely
thing.
well-deserved roaster.
Yes. Yeah. When I was in, like I said, my festival was in the West Coast and everyone was from LA. And that was I was just like socially roasting, right? And like, I felt like I was back in college being like, oh, I need to tone down the broiness because it's like a group of more artist comics, right? Like, because they're LA and New York. And New York is like Philly if everyone were an artist. Yeah. As opposed to like just bros doing comedy. Yeah. And like they can't handle. However, I did want to say I got an amazing compliment about our podcast, Dying Up Here Pod, from somebody at Soul Joel's this past weekend.
That's so nice.
I don't know if you get this a lot, but the number one thing I hear from people is how much they love our roasts. When people talk about it to other people, they're like, oh my God, and they have this podcast and they roast. That's like the thing everyone brings up. Somebody said to me, this weekend, she's like, I have seen you perform, but I listen to your podcast like religiously. And she said, she said, I love roasts, and it is the only time I listen to a podcast where every time you guys roast each other, I feel like I need to take a shower afterwards. I feel awful afterwards for laughing at it. And so if that's any encouragement for tonight, is that
it is.
The real ones will get it.
Yeah, I'm going to let it rip. I mean, like, I can say this because obviously it's going to be after the fact.
Uh-huh.
But one of my, like, someone I'm friendly with through shows is on the show. And, like, I haven't seen him perform in a while, but he did have a kid in the last couple of years. So, like, he's hosting. So I was going to say, I'd have more jokes for you, but I'd have more material for you, but your jokes are as absent as you are as a father.
Great.
And I was like, is that, like, when you just haven't seen someone in a while, like, I'm like, ooh, I don't want that to be, like, the first thing he thinks I was thinking about him.
Yeah.
But also,
it's
I'm
a roast.
doing my job.
It's a roast.
Yep. Yeah, and I have, like, my car ride up to New York to, like, think about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the worst when I'm in the car and I'm, like, talking into my phone and, like, writing the most, like, Kirsten is the dumbest piece of shit. I was thinking, I love when I tell people, like, ask me about you and stuff, and, like, I always, like, reference them where I say, like, I think Kirsten and I are only friends because I do make fun of her. Yeah. Like, treat her normally. Like, there's this couple on TikTok I've seen where, like, it's a gay couple. The one husband is blind. And he said that basically the husband always does pranks to the blind one.
Yep.
And he said, like, the seeing husband says that. And he said, my husband said pranks make me feel normal.
Yeah.
And he said, I never want to stop. So it was, like, something as simple as, like, he'll, like, drink out of a straw and he'll put the cup down and he'll move the straw. Like, just silly little things like that. Because I was like, from the jump, you've let me say whatever I wanted about your disease.
Right.
Also.
Because that is how I feel close to people. Like, I feel such distance from people who are trying to be overly kind to me about stuff. I'm like, I feel
same
from
way
a mile
about
away.
People being, like, cautious of how they talk to me. Because, like, I didn't get to talk to you about this yet, but I was talking to a comedian who told me she did a show out in the suburbs. She's not from here. She did my show, but prior she was like, oh, I went out to the suburbs, and she was like, oh, these people were, like, saying really nice things about you. And then later in the night I was saying something about how strict I can be with, like, either my shows or just, like, how I am, like, leaving mics, like, I don't hang. And she, like, lightly referenced in thinking what I was saying. She was like, yeah, like, something about those guys calling me a bitch or something. Like, she just... and
thinking that you were on the same page about that.
Yeah, like, I was referring to that. And then I was like, I didn't really know who or what she was referring to. But it also, like, makes me laugh, like, thinking, like, those people never say that to my face.
No.
Because the fear of talking to me makes them call me a bitch to anybody else. But they would never say it to my face. So, like, I do love when someone roasts me. Like, even Josh, like, making fun of, like, the competitive but being bad at something. Or, like, him saying he loves going to the arcade so we can leave.
Yeah.
Like, so many things where I'm like, it makes me feel so much better when people feel like they can jab at me.
Yes. I feel so much closer to you when you do that.
Because it makes me like, oh, not only do you see me, love me, and are confident that I will laugh at this. Like,
yes. And I have I put so much work into showing, not telling, but showing people that I can take a joke about anything. Like, if you can offend me, it's the apocalypse. I would be amazed if someone could upset me.
Right.
I have such a short fuse. Anger is not an emotion I ever feel. I love getting roasted from the bottom of my heart. I feel like I do such a specific job to make sure that I am clear with that about the people in my life. So if somebody still, who I feel close to, still feels like they need to tiptoe around something, I'm like, then clearly you haven't been listening to a word. I hate when people
tiptoe around anything. That's why I don't like that.
But at least there's people in my life who I know say that stuff, and then every time their actions prove that they can't handle it, right?
Yeah.
They do get upset. And then I'm like, well, you say one thing, but you do another. But there's people who anytime they've done something, I will go above and beyond to make sure they feel comfortable with what they said and did.
Right.
And they don't have any single one piece of evidence to think I would get upset. I've never been upset. And still, when people tiptoe around me, it makes me so much more mad because I'm like, are we not as close as I thought? Because have I not proven?
To me all the time? Because that's what I think. Like, when people don't joke back with me or whatever, I'm like, are you uncomfortable around me? Like, I'm like, what is it? Yeah. Because Josh was like, I was telling him, we were like driving somewhere, and I was like, I said something right when he walked in. He met me somewhere. That was like roasty. And he just kind of was like, why the fuck? Like, why is that the first thing you said?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, my bad. I should have been like, good morning, you look cute.
Uh-huh.
For a blank, blank, blank.
Sure.
I needed a
Yeah.
couple that was something else. So I was like, that makes me feel good and like silly. And like we're close because it's like,
Yes.
if you walked in and like, you know, you're wearing like a hard t-shirt and I just was like, oh, okay. Oh, you like horror movies? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like just
We get it.
something
You're
as simple
cool.
as
Yeah.
Well, I was editing an older episode where you are telling Allison that your like horror is your
Yeah.
life, and you just see me look at Neil like SpongeBob in the Krabby Patty face, where I just like make a grin at Neil, being like, oh, okay, like because I wasn't gonna do it.
We
in front
get
of,
it.
I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
but I
Yeah.
was like,
Right.
yeah.
And that's the kind of shit that like I love. Like when I see stuff that was written about me for like the sitcom that I do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That people will write that like straight up hurts my feelings, but in such a funny way where I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm like, this is what you guys thought to write. But like somebody just being like, you know, like, yeah, we get it. You're not like other girls. You wore Converse to prom. You watch horror movies to fall asleep. And I'm like, yeah.
I can't think of it now, but Rosie once before I went on stage, Rosie, don't tell, it's like videographer. She said something that I say every time I go on stage, and I had never heard it. And she does an amazing impression of my first 2 seconds on stage.
Uh-huh.
And she said it, and it's obviously because she edits all my videos, so she's just paying attention to me.
Yes.
And it's just as simple as that.
But it's like a household phrase in her mind, and you didn't know it was like a thing we talked
I hope
about.
I can find what she said, but
Yeah.
it's so simple, like just one word. But it was like so nice for me to hear. I won't be able to find it quickly, but did you have something you wanted to lay to rest?
Yes. Well, okay, but to close the tab on your roast.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
The
go
people who
hard
get
and
it,
I'm
get
gonna
it.
leave.
And if they don't get it, then
I think I just got nervous because it's like for charity, so a lot of like, but people know it's a roast of this guy, so hopefully they're actually on board for it.
yeah. Okay. Lay to rest. Oh man. I've been so fucked up I've been on
Oh yeah,
narcotics for a month straight.
I was gonna say like I'll text you and you'll be like during my wake window.
Like when you have a newborn at home.
I have this is something to resurrect, but it's not something that's ever existed.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like
We need a new phrase for that because I come up with that a lot. If anyone has a new idea for a phrase of something that is not resurrect, like a third thing that is something that's not existed that we want to exist.
a birth, a
Yeah.
new idea.
Yeah, creation, a
Rebirth?
rebirth. Well,
No,
no,
it's
because
the first
It doesn't
time.
exist at all.
yeah, just like
Well,
a thing.
it's like
Manifest?
my thing is like a remix on something.
Okay,
Like,
great.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
you know, like quiet cars and trains.
Uh huh.
Need them in restaurants. Like there are certain restaurants that I really like going to, but they're too dark or too loud, and I'm like, they should have a separate sensitive like sensory room. Like there's some places I really like going, but when it's loud, it drives me insane.
Yes,
You've
right.
been to a bar with me where I've asked them to turn the music down.
Yes.
And I'm like, there's 6 of us in here. There's no reason I should be yelling. Like
Yeah.
everyone's like late 20s, early 30s. Like hearing is like getting impacted.
Right. Everyone's on the spectrum
immensely.
now.
Well, I'm just like,
we all are
there's
overstimulated.
no reason for music to be loud.
Agreed. Yeah. Oh, I'm the same way. You cannot pay me to go to a bar with live music. I will have the worst time of my life.
If I'm 3 floors away from it, great.
Yeah.
I was just somewhere where they were like playing jazz downstairs, and
Jazz
it was
is
like really
different.
nice.
Yeah. Jazz is like nice.
yes.
But I'm talking like you go
And you
to
could talk over jazz.
a shore bar.
Yeah.
Like a Cape May or Wildwood bar.
And there's a cover band.
And there is a band. And why is there a drum kit in a 500 square foot restaurant?
Right.
Why is there a full drum kit? If you go to bars with your friends purposely that have live music, you don't like your friends because you
Yeah.
guys don't have nothing to talk about.
Oh man, I try to write a joke about this. I'm sure I talked about it on the pod before, but how I think restaurants that are loud or dark are hiding something, and I only like to go to places that aren't hiding anything. Because it's
You want like hospital fluorescent lighting to like
yeah,
inspect.
like, show me everything.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what was my remix. Was
I like
quiet
that.
cars in restaurants.
I like that. It's kind of like an invention.
Like I think that you should have the option to be like, hey, like I'm uncomfortable in this seating. Like,
Yeah.
can we go in the back room that's quieter?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that happens all the time with places that kids go to also. Like you have a baby
Put
and
me
you're
in the
like,
kid room.
dude, yeah.
Put a curtain up. I don't care.
Yep. Okay, I want to resurrect. Oh yeah, this is a big one. This one, man. I travel. I travel a lot, as you know. So do you. Mm-hmm. We go to a lot of cities that we are only in briefly, and I'm in a lot of college towns too mm-hmm. that don't have big name restaurants. They're all just little stuff. If I have to see one more fucking restaurant that does not say it's kitchen hours, especially because we have to eat dinner because of our job so late. And anytime their hours say they're open till midnight, I guarantee the kitchen closed at 9 p.m. But they will not tell you. And so you have to like call around to places just to be like, dude, can I eat here or not?
Yep.
And I know why they do it. I used to be the manager of a restaurant. I understand they want to withhold the right to close the kitchen at volume, meaning whenever it's slowing down and they want to be able to send people home. They don't want to be beholden to hours.
Yeah.
But holy shit, if I have to deal with one more place when I'm just trying to give them my business and I can't find anywhere that will definitively tell me, and I'm not going to route myself there just to find out that they're closed.
It's so simple. I get mad about restaurant websites all the time. It's so simple to just update it.
And if you at least go to like and obviously I never go to like chain restaurants, but if you at least go to those, it's a definitive set thing.
Right.
Or you go to like in Philly, we have, the Steven Starr kind of restaurants. We have like the Michael Schulson, and they all have the set thing where they say, these are our bar hours, or these are our kitchen hours, and then our bars open 1 hour later than these. That's great. But holy shit, stop trying to, why is it a secret? I have money and I want to give it to you. What's the secret?
Producer and friend, Neil Wood here. Brief commercial break.
Hey, hold right there. Don't dare skip this. This is an important message. Me and my boy Albert Davis, we want to tell you about our podcast, Seriously Dad. Albert, why should they listen?
Because it's the best podcast in the world. It's by two comedians who are dads, and you know what we're talking about? Being dads. It's called Seriously Dad. Check us out on social media at Seriously Dad Podcast, and
anywhere you get your podcast. That's where we're at. We're funny. We got some great guests coming our way. We cover the topics you want to hear. Check us out.
Agree fully, and I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you.
I get so annoyed when I don't know something simple for a restaurant. Like, why is this so hard? It takes 2 seconds to make a website. 2 seconds.
It is. And
you could have a website that is just like literally name, hours, phone number, email if you wanted. You don't have
there's
to
so many people
there's so many like
their only website is their Instagram, and still the bio, the 3-line bio has more info.
I just remembered one that the other day I wanted a bagel. And I went on this place.
Kismet?
I'm not even telling you where because they don't deserve it.
Okay.
And their Instagram says cash sometimes. And when I went up,
let's figure this out.
and I went up close, it's in my neighborhood. And I already am anti this place, but I give everywhere 2 shots. I went once before, fine. I went the second time, and the door says card only today. And they do pizza at night. And I was like so annoyed because on principle, I was like finishing up my walk and I was like, I'm going to go somewhere that accepts cash. I was like not using my cards because I can't.
Because there's nothing on there.
No, so I'm like trying to spend cash because I've been like taking shifts at the restaurant. I have cash now, which is fun. So it's like a fun little.
But it's so frustrating to find out nobody fucking takes cash anymore.
Well, so I'll text my friends which places take cash now. Yeah. So this says cash sometimes. And I walked to Josh's house. And
which is crystal clear.
Cannot believe this. But he's like, oh, got you food. And I was like, it's not that. It's the principle of like, if you finish a shift working and like this is one of the only deli spots open right here and all you have is cash and they just sometimes don't take it. Like, what does that even mean? Like, because I get saying our card system's down because sometimes stuff happens with the internet and stuff. There's no reason in which you can't take cash. Well, you could say, hey, sorry, I can't make change for
That's
you.
exactly what it is it means that they didn't have enough staff for somebody to go to the bank. And I used to manage a restaurant, so I simultaneously have empathy for it and no empathy for it because I figured it out every day.
Be back in 30 minutes.
Yes.
I would respect that more than a cash sometimes.
Yeah. You call that day.
I'm not kidding. Their Instagram bio says
sometimes. And we ask you a riddle.
Cash. How do you say that?
And
how do you say cash sometimes?
Right, what's the sometimes?
That you might as well say sometimes open. And it's always these places that will now close and then be like, we just like couldn't meet like our unions. Like we couldn't pay people like blah, blah. I was like, no, you made bad decisions.
We're so
You made bad decisions that made it inconsistent for you to make a profit because you're an asshole.
Yes.
Prioritize that.
And then they're like, we just like, thank you for those who in the community who did come out to support us, but we could, and it's like,
Thankful for the people that had like Amex card.
Yeah.
Like it's like always something like crazy specific. People are nuts.
but also if you are a restaurant, like again, because I managed a restaurant, it was the worst years of my life. I will never get those years back.
TBT.
But on God, every day I figured it out. Like that's a part of running a restaurant or any sort of job like that it's a huge amount of problem solving that goes into it. Like this thing feels impossible and yet we will figure it out because that's what we do every day. You find a loophole, you find a way to send somebody, you're out of something, you send the busser across the street to buy something. Like it is not that hard, but if you don't value that and you go, oh, people probably won't care, and then you're shocked when they do care. Same with hours, people closing earlier than their hours.
Oh, it gets better. When I went in to finally get the bagel, they had like a big touchscreen for like toast.
Sure.
To like order on the POS system, which I didn't really notice. There was one guy in there, truly one man working there, no one in line, nothing. Yeah. So I was like talking to him and say, hey, how are you? Whatever. And then he walks away. Fine. Like I guess he needed to do something else.
Sure.
But then I'm still waiting for him to come back to order, and he yells from the other side of the room. He goes, you can put it in the POS. And I was like,
isn't that you?
Which is like fine. I usually love a touch.
He's like, here's the code to the back room if you want to go in
and toast your own bagel. And like, I just was like, fine. Like, I honestly felt like
I love a touchscreen. Agreed. Yeah,
I don't mind using a touchscreen, but like, it was just me and him, so I figured he would take my order, or like, or say before he walked away, like, feel free to put your order in here. Yeah. But he waited till I didn't know what to do and then yelled it out, and I was like, okay. Sometimes, Cash.
Have you been to the airport bars? I'm sure you have. The ones they have them in the Philly airport specifically, but that you can't verbal an order to a bartender. You have to put it into the iPad.
Even though the bartender is standing in front of you.
And they're standing there waiting for it to print out as if like as if a server was at your table and then they put it in and then they're going to get like the service bar thing. But they're standing in front of you and I'm like, can I just tell you? And it's like, make an account, give an email, all of this stuff. Yeah. And you're like, I want a mimosa. And I'm willing to spend $19 on it. That's actually part of this. That's what I factor into my plane ticket is I'm going to get a $19 mimosa. Can you make it for me? And the answer is like, only when the ticket says so.
You're like, what? I'm trying to see what else. I have so many things written down here that don't make any sense.
I was just, okay, so here's one that I just decoded finally. Okay. That I wrote in the hospital. Is a late arrest. This is something that I am very passionate about. This is something that gets talked a lot about on my favorite podcast, the last podcast on the left, which is they talk a lot about the fact that we should not be allowed. We weren't designed to know what everyone is thinking and doing all the time. Yeah. Like with we shouldn't know that. And so that's where most issues stem from if you trace them far back enough with the internet. And so what I wrote is like people who say stuff like, I'm 65 years old and never in history have I seen so much blank in the world before these last 10 years. Never have I heard so many people saying this before, like the world's changing. It's like, you've never been able to hear so many people or see so many things in the last 10 years. Of course you haven't. It's like being like, never until COVID did I ever see so many people wearing masks. Like when would they have?
Never since COVID did I see so many COVID diagnoses.
Right. All of a sudden COVID comes around and people are getting COVID.
It's like my cuckoo uncle's like argument about autism, like diagnosis skyrocketing. I said, okay, look at the timeline you're looking at and look at when autism was defined.
Right. It's almost like
is it when that spike in the chart happens? Yeah. Or are you autistic?
Also, show me your room full of model trains. Yeah. But people being like, things are going downhill. I've been alive for this many years, and only in the past 10 years have I seen so many people saying this and this. And it's like, you couldn't hear everyone before because you could only hear the people you choose to spend time with. Like there was a time that the only opinions you knew about were your friends and family and coworkers. Right. And people who had earned a microphone by being whatever job they do. They're a newscaster, they're a comic, they're an actor. They earned a platform to say these things. Now you can hear literally any single woman in Arkansas named Jamie Lynn sit in her fucking Ford F-150 recording herself fuming about something.
I think it's also that... Oh, lost my thought. Don't worry, I'll tweet about
Jamie
it later.
Lynn. Is that helpful?
Jeez, oh Pete, I had a sentence come to my brain and it's gone. You're saying that people keep saying they like can't believe they're hearing so much of this.
They act like it's this new wave, and it's like people have been saying these things no matter what forever.
Yes,
you just
I
can
remember.
now hear it.
So it's always like my mom is really good about like whenever I would get like down or overwhelmed, she would, her thing was always things were always bad. You just didn't hear about it. So even now, like after this election, not to be like political or topical at all, I don't want to talk about it. Is that I don't want to talk about it in this space.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have opinions and discuss clearly. I think that people don't realize that we have still made so much progress.
Yes.
Like the fact that you know that our president-elect has raped and sexually assaulted people. What do you think was going on before?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like women could barely like the years in which like it took women to vote, be able to get credit cards, like all this stuff. We are making progress. You just hear everything now.
Right.
So it feels like, I can't believe this wasn't the last straw. I was like, do you know how many crimes everybody has committed and like it just wasn't in your face before?
Right. It's just that we weren't privy to it.
Is that like it is open, it is out there in the open. Like that's the first step, admitting that you're an alcoholic as a country.
Yeah.
Like our first step is being like, everyone needs to know how fucked up everything is. Because obviously no one was taking a stand when they didn't need to. But now that the country's getting drunk at Thanksgiving and ruining Christmas too, we all have to address it. So like people hearing like saying this is all new. I was like, is it new or are you finally being shoved down your throat? Like, is it finally like, it's been shoved down women's throat, people of color's throat, like all stuff. It's like, now these people are like, oh, I can't believe I have to hear this, whatever. Flip side, I will say, Neil, can you note this? I might need to cut it. People are weaponizing both sides.
Yes.
My friend who works in a restaurant had to ask a couple to step outside while they were cleaning up a table.
And I would like to throw in that this restaurant that we frequent a lot is very small. And
Very small.
especially the tables lined right up to the door. So there's no waiting area.
Very
Anybody
small.
who walks in, I am a frequent member. I have been asked to step out
Yes,
until they can clean.
Yep, very small. Like you don't want to get sprayed with, even though it's food safe spray, but like whatever.
And when you are a customer, you appreciate other people being asked to step out so that they are not looming over you while you're eating.
Yeah.
This is normal.
Right. So a couple came, they were asked to step outside and immediately left and posted on Instagram tagging the restaurant, claiming that this is Trump's America, that the restaurant was racist and homophobic. And that's why they were asked to step outside by the like curt and crass bartender. What? Like the leaps and jumps everyone has to go to blame other people, make it political, all the things. And also, like, newsflash, you can be gay and an asshole.
Yes.
Both things can be true.
Yep. You can be black and an asshole. You can be, well, no, you're right. I'm sorry. That's too far. You can be, right. You can be straight and not an asshole.
Yes.
Like there's.
You can have mental health problems, still be an asshole.
Yes.
Like, you can be, like, everything is like the Pete Davidson thing. Like, the jumps and loops to purposely be triggered. Even the people that are saying, like, oh, I haven't seen this much bad news, whatever. Like, my biggest issue recently, like, what needs to be laid to rest is, like, so I had my first ever bartending shift the day after the election. And I was saying this to you, the white women coming in, admitting they were able to take a day off, PTO, mind you.
Yeah.
Get brunch. Needed the snuggles with their doodle. Swear, these were conversations I was serving. And I wanted to be like, do you know how many undocumented people right now are scrambling to get food together for you all across this city? And your note of how sad you were for the state of the country and these communities that you so deeply care about.
Yeah.
They're serving you today on this day you took off. And not saying you shouldn't be paying and supporting these restaurants, whatever. But I'm like, hey, have a little thought here where you're like, I'm sad. You can be sad. You can be sad however you need to be sad.
Yeah.
But if you're going to sit there and cry
if
about
you were
it,
sad after the election, and understandably so, and you decided I'm going to take the day and I'm going to lay in bed and I'm going to be bummed and I'm going to order food, somebody brought you that food. There are people who are far more affected and still had to keep going. Also, I want to say, if you are that couple who said that stuff trying to get one of the only very successful Black-owned restaurants in South Philly, on Passyunk, canceled, what are you trying to do here? You're trying to get them shut down for that?
Well, also, like, say something in person. If you really felt like
Yeah.
if I felt like I had bad customer service,
Yeah.
I would immediately be like, "Hey, we've been here before. I've never really experienced this. Whatever." You to leave and go post anything.
I also want to just point out, and I know this is hard to do because unless you're watching this, you cannot. I won't do hand motions. I'll try to describe with my words. The comedy of so the part of Passyunk that we're referring to, the restaurants that are on the corner across from each other are approximately 9 feet. I could be sitting in one restaurant outdoor and you could be sitting at another, and we would be closer than if you were at a Rittenhouse big restaurant at the same restaurant. They couldn't have gone to more. It was the equivalent of them still sitting in the restaurant writing this stuff online. They could not have been physically closer to the building to have said something. And they're just looking through the window, basically waving like, check your DMs.
Everyone has the right to
tagged you.
feel how they feel. However,
You're right there, babe. Like physically, you're right there.
if something made you feel that way without proper cause and without addressing it in person, is tricky. Is a tricky dynamic. Because it's hard to define and quantify feelings. I've been to restaurants where I thought the server was rude to me.
Well, we had that one server who did not find us charming, and we got the restaurant
Still
shut
think
down.
that.
That restaurant is
It
actually
is
shut down now
True.
because he didn't laugh at our jokes.
That's true. Why
Which
would
were,
they stay in business?
I do agree, feelings are, there's opinion behind feelings, but our jokes were unopinionatedly perfect, and he
Right.
didn't laugh once.
To
We
say
looked
it's
good.
Trump's America as to why you were asked to like take a seat out, like to stand outside on a mind you beautiful day.
Yeah.
There are times in the winter it's tough.
Sure.
Where you're like,
It
I
is.
need you to step
Or
outside,
it's raining.
like whatever. Yeah, that's tough. Beautiful day. Beautiful day. And like I said, people are entitled to their feelings. Are you entitled to bash a small restaurant that's open on a holiday? Sure. That's the freedom. But guess what, bitch? That's Trump's America.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you want.
And also-
that's what you want is to bash unapologetically with no information, no details.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you want.
And you know, my mom
I'm
has
probably
said
going
this.
to cut most of this.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. My mom has said this a lot in my life, which is that, especially with the internet and stuff, is so much of conflict resolution, a big aspect of it needs to be the humanity of looking someone in the face. And that never even
Always.
was a conversation. Like, we didn't, how else could you have conflict?
Always, as I'm not looking you in the face.
Yeah.
But absolutely. It's like how I feel
The humanity is an aspect of it. And when you take that out of it, there's no limit to how ruthless we will all get, you know?
Well, I know, like, circle it back to, like, how we're talking about roasting and, like, feeling comfortable with each
Yeah.
other. I'll say to your face. Like, the thing is, like, when people call me bitch or whatever behind my back, like, I'm like, I would rather them come up to me and be like, hey, like, you're really hard to talk to or whatever. Because they wouldn't. Because I'm not hard to talk to. They have a hard time talking to me. And those are two different things.
I agree. And I will, you're right. We will leave it here. Then we're moving on. Last thing I will say is, if you do not think that Jamie is approachable or at least can hear that stuff, to go to bat for you, I'm going to say one thing that I really thought was cool and upstanding that you did a couple months ago that you said on the pod after that issue with a comic friend of ours texting you something about you that was not meant to go to you was him calling you right away. And you being like, I respected that he did that and did not just try to double down or lie or keep it on text so that he didn't have to whatever. You still hated what he did.
Yeah.
It didn't change anything, but you at least were like, now I have an ounce more of respect for this conversation as opposed to just,
Well, because you could text whatever you want.
yep.
It's like if
It
I
was
get
a
an
cool
argument.
adult move to keep humanity in it by talking on the phone.
Well, I'll call, like, if I feel a misunderstanding coming in a conversation, I'll call because texting is nonsense. People read texting negatively.
Yep.
Like, it's perceived negative.
And we are all some different kind of neurodivergent to the point where, like, the divergence are not all in the same direction.
And you're reading it with the voice you hear. You're not reading it with my intention.
yeah.
Yeah, so I do appreciate when people just do stuff straight up. I know people are always like, I couldn't handle that. I was like, texting and being passive is way more insulting to me than anything else.
It's also a skill. Like, yes, it is hard to do those things. You have to
Yeah.
practice it. It's a practice to continue to take a minute and be the bigger person and like make a phone call as opposed to a text or an email or whatever. Okay. Those were my late arrests and resurrect. And then I have one. Yes, we have another minute. I have one, if you don't mind,
Please.
question, unhinged icebreaker for you.
Please.
Okay.
This would be a good way to wrap.
Okay.
Ow.
You know those
Urgent care.
you know those conspiracy theories about celebrities, like in any way. It can be like the ones that's like this person, Katy Perry, died and was replaced.
Avril Lavigne, yeah.
Yes, or it was Katy Perry is Jean-Benet Ramsey, whatever. What is a conspiracy theory? And if you want to go with they died and they've been replaced or whatever, who is someone that you do believe that could be true about?
Oh, I'm not sure if I've said this on the podcast, but I think Ryan Seacrest has clones.
Okay, of other Ryan Seacrests.
Yeah. I don't think he was died and replaced, but I think there's multiple Ryan Seacrests.
He does work a lot. Yeah. That's actually a really good, he's such a good pick because he's so...
Like, how are you on the radio in the morning, then doing a TV show, and then like bi-coastal? I'm like, I don't.
And then probably hosting The Masked Singer. I don't know. I'm just assuming he has the energy of somebody who's on The Masked Singer or hosts it. Yeah.
He could be all three judges.
He's a great... He's under all of the masks, and it's like proof that he is a clone, finally.
Yeah, that's my big theory.
That's a good one. Okay. I think that... So I know I wrote this, and I probably should have thought of an answer for myself. But in terms of like, yes, celebrities who, whether it's that they're dead or that they are just like not there, like when you hear them,
I didn't really answer your question. That was my theory on clones.
Yeah.
But give me a sec. I'll think of someone who's
okay,
died.
Yeah, like somebody that you would believe it about, that like they are not the person that they were before, whether that it's that they died and they were replaced or they are a robot or whatever. I would say like more day-to-day celebrity that I think like is a name we hear, but I think easily could be cloned is, or not cloned, dead and not them anymore. I think the Britney Spears stuff, obviously I know she's just unfortunately not doing great, but in terms of like, is she being held hostage? Like who's behind that camera kind of thing? You know, when you like see those like shitty ads in between something like on a phone ad and it seems like the girls who made it are being trafficked. Like there's no way that they made that voluntarily. Even if it's not sexual, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
I would say Britney Spears. I know that's like not a very hot take because she is not doing well right now, but I would say Britney Spears currently. Yeah,
that one makes sense though.
Yeah. Yeah, like I can't think of anyone else who I think has like changed so hard. You heard about politicians a lot, I feel like. Like that was the thing with Hillary, people said. It's like not her, or like they send in body doubles. And I do think there could be a level of truth to that in terms of appearances. Honestly, and not even to make it political just because she is a celebrity, is Melania. I do think
there's multiples.
No light in her eyes anymore. And like...
Who are they just showing? Oh, Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, okay.
Have you pull up that photo if you don't mind. Kate Beckinsale, they pulled up. You know what's funny is like the first person that was like really coming to mind or like dead and come back were men. Like I was thinking like, this is going to sound F, but like Ryan Reynolds, I was just like, he could be an animatronic because his, like when you hear people do impressions, like his shtick is so specific.
It is, and so his cadence
sounds like AI generated.
Yeah.
I just saw someone do an impression of Vince Vaughn. I felt the same way too. But Kate Beckinsale recently was on the red carpet, that pink dress where she has like, that's Kate Beckinsale now. Or the one to the left, the lighter pink dress. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, doesn't look like her at all anymore.
First, I mean, she looks great, but she looks
like a doll.
Wow.
It's not like if you look at a younger photo, she's stunningly beautiful.
Wow.
She was always stunningly beautiful, but
I also, and I don't want to obviously make it like the trend is we're talking about women who have had work done in that sense, because that kind of does.
But that's why I was thinking Tom Brady.
Courtney Cox.
She looks great now, though.
She looks great.
She got the fillers removed.
But not about the fillers. I mean, in terms of she seems
so different.
So different.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, I still see her a lot because she's still in all the current Scream movies.
Could you pull up a Ryan Reynolds, like when he was younger and now, like early 2000s to now, Ryan Reynolds? Even if you type in before and after, I'm sure someone will pull something up.
Ryan Reynolds is...
That's my
If we're talking about cadence of like people you could impersonate, Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman and Vince Vaughn all have the exact same shtick, which is
the
talking
mumbly, really fast.
like that they are quippy. They are the
Quippy
smartest guy in the room, and they have quips to share. Wow. Yeah, the first one is him from Waiting. That's 05 Reynolds. Wow. And then, yeah, I mean, I think also once you start working for Disney, there's a level, or Marvel, which is Disney, there's a level of like, you can no longer have a personality. You are, because there's some, you know, everyone makes that joke of like the guys you couldn't pick out of a lineup, but they're all named Chris usually. But like Chris Pine, Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, I think is different.
I always think Chris Pine still has a personality. Thank goodness.
Oh, does he? Okay, yeah.
Thank goodness I know him personally.
Yeah.
What am I talking about? What are we talking about?
That was my question, was who do you believe could be?
Yeah, Ryan Seacrest is a clone.
Ryan Seacrest is a great choice.
Ryan Reynolds is gone.
Is dead and... Okay, great. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to. But...
How dare you? No.
Yeah, number one.
Wait, let me find one.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
I had a question.
Oh, okay.
How would you react to this?
Okay.
Oh, actually, no, my question is just, do you think this is bitchy or not?
Okay.
I don't think I said this to you in person, but over the weekend, a person I don't know, while I was sitting next to my boyfriend, came and draped her arms around my boyfriend, which is just fine. We're adults. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the two girls that were across watching it made a face. Mm-hmm. So I look, check, see what's happening. Mm-hmm. And then he spins around and says, "This is my girlfriend, Jamie," while she's still arms on him. And she puts her hand out and says, "Nice to officially meet you."
Oh.
What would you have said?
And you didn't know that he knew this girl?
I have no idea who this person is.
Okay. Oh, this is layered because he knows this girl. Which is worse than a stranger who's just drunk putting their arms on him.
Or a regular, like, whatever.
Yes. I mean, I got, what would I say? Something along the lines of, like, implying that oh, you know who I am. I have no idea who you are. Yeah. Oh, man. that like, makes me feel... I would hate, obviously, like, I have such a lower tolerance for how I'm treated than how others are treated. If it happened to me, I would be less mad than if I watched it happen to someone else.
I know. I'm picturing if it happened to you, I know you'd be like, "Hey, good to see you."
Right, yeah. I'm like, I would love to know who you are.
Yeah.
And then maybe over a couple weeks, if I thought about it longer, I would be upset. But in the moment, but I'm like, but if I watched that happen, I'm thinking from the girls at the bar's perspective.
Yeah.
And who was this person? A friend?
Someone they know.
That is... that's
Oh, yeah, she's rattled.
Really bold. And that's such a, like, marking your territory kind of thing, because there's no way that this person did not see you guys sitting together. Mm-hmm. Do you think it was genuinely did not?
We were at a six top. He was in the middle seat, and I was in the next seat.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So let's reenact.
So
right?
what would I do?
You say, "Nice to officially meet."
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to officially meet you.
Have we unofficially met?
Nice. Okay, great.
End the episode.
This is your redemption hour. Wow. Okay, I'm going to think for next week what I would have said that would have been really cool.
Hey, producer Neil Wood, subscribe now to the Dying Up Here podcast at Dying Up Here Pod on YouTube. And make sure to follow Kirsten and Jamie on all the stuff. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Hey, how you doing? This is Neil Wood, one of the co-owners of Drop 10 Media Network and who helps run Biggest Little Comedy. You can check out all the other stuff we do at drop10.com. We've got podcasts, live comedy shows, and so much more. Go over there, support your favorite podcasts, follow them, subscribe. We appreciate it. Again, we're 100% DIY, just a bunch of creatives trying to make it in this, and give us some feedback. We always enjoy a little feedback. Thanks.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.